at the prison where he is being held in their state. Mr. Maddow is Palestinian. He was born and raised in the West Bank. They brought Palestinian flags to show their support for him. And they banged drums and yelled as loud as they could in the hopes that he could hear them inside the prison. Now in Vermont, the Democratic leadership in the state legislature says they want to terminate their state's contract with the federal government to keep immigration prisoners, immigration so-called detainees, in the state's prisons, in their own facilities. That's Vermont. In Raleigh, North Carolina, the Trump administration has just sent notice to 24 Christians who fled Afghanistan when the Taliban took that country back over. They are legally here in this country. They were given legal permission to stay here for obvious reasons. For not obvious reasons, Donald Trump is now taking that away and telling these Afghan Christians that they have to return immediately to the tender mercies of the Taliban right now, this week. It is a Christian church in Raleigh, North Carolina, that's advocating for them.
At the Apostles' Church in Raleigh, there's a community of Afghans, many going through the same thing. Pastor Nick Kaminsky says the church has organized resources to help asylum seekers navigate the process.
It's a very personal issue. These are individuals, men, women, children, that we know and have come to know and love.
That's Raleigh, North Carolina. In Utah, it's people who are legally here from Haiti and Venezuela, who are part of the community that they live in Utah, who are beloved there. Their neighbors in Utah are stepping up to help them and also to sound the alarm.
It's time for you to leave the United States. That's the first line of a letter from the Department of Homeland Security to several refugee families here in Utah legally. News specialist Dan Mascone is covering this story and joins us live. Dan, this has left neighbors shocked and upset.
It really has, Deanie. That's exactly right. Shocked, upset, angry, and also heartbroken that several of these families got this letter from the Department of Homeland Security telling them they got to be out of this country by the end of the week.
I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm embarrassed.
Emotions running high.
It's not right. It's inhumane.
For this group of neighbors in Mill Creek.
We love them and they love us.
Gathered together to fight for 3 refugee families.
I feel sad, really sad.
That arrived in the U.S. and in their area not long ago. All of them getting this letter from the Department of Homeland Security saying, quote, "It's time for you to leave the United States. Your parole will terminate in 7 days."
Unimaginable. The government that we love would do this to people we love.
Honestly feel like family to us.
2 of the families are from Venezuela, the other from Haiti, all too scared to identify themselves.
The letter said that I was supposed to leave.
This mother from Haiti has a 2-year-old daughter.
I was in shock because I wasn't expected something like that to happen because I came here legally.
Attorney Jim McConkey with the Refugee Justice League is helping the families get representation.
We're dealing with a group of people that are here legally, and the letters that were sent intentionally are designed to bully and mislead these people into believing that they don't have rights.
That's Utah. That's Mill Creek, Utah. Those neighbors standing up for their neighbors who have been taken. It's protests, it's community life, it's also civic life. These students at Harvard today rallying to support international students at Harvard, who the Trump administration is threatening as a group, threatening en masse. As their own university, one of the highest profile and most prestigious universities in the world, takes a firm stand against the administration and says they will not accede to Trump's demands. We're going to have more on that coming up in just a moment. But you know what? If you look just outside Harvard Yard, if you look at the hometown press in Boston, you will see not only standing ovation level support for Harvard choosing to wage that fight, you will also see in the biggest local paper, the Boston Globe, you'll see them today leading with a brand new investigative piece into these vigilante groups that have been claiming credit for feeding individual student names to the Trump administration for the administration to then target those people for arrest and deportation. The Globe's investigation today reviewed a so-called students deport list from one of these groups. Quote, it sometimes placed students at the wrong universities or featured people who were not even in the United States. One woman on the list was pictured wearing a hijab and identified as a Harvard student from Nigeria who had already been detained in Massachusetts. The group claimed she should be deported because her visa had been revoked in March for a pro-Hamas rally speech. Contacted by the Globe, the woman said she has never attended a pro-Hamas rally, she has never attended Harvard, and in fact, she has never visited the United States. An hour south in New Bedford, Massachusetts, the local NBC station Channel 10 has dug into this horrifying video in which ICE agents smashed through the window of a car to drag a man and a woman out of the vehicle. They report that the ICE agents repeatedly, while they were doing this, referred to the man in the car as Antonio. They insisted that that was what his name, and it was Antonio who they were looking for. Nobody in that car was named Antonio. It really does appear to be a case of mistaken identity. Local press has been covering it intensely, while ICE is defending its conduct by saying whether or not he's Antonio, the man was not in the country legally, and so, you know. The New Republic was first to report that one of the police officers responsible for the disputed gang designation for Kilmar Abrego Garcia appears to have himself been soon thereafter suspended from the police force for serious misconduct in an unrelated matter, which, of course, goes to a police officer's credibility on a matter like this. USA Today was first to report that in the case of the gay makeup artist who the Trump administration sent to El Salvador, potentially for life in prison, his supposed gang affiliation was due to a single officer with a history of serious credibility and disciplinary problems, including driving his car into a family's home while intoxicated, after which he was summarily fired. Now we've got increasing press coverage of the Trump administration sending get-out-of-the-country immediately letters to at least 3 U.S. citizens, 2 of whom are lawyers in Massachusetts and 1 of whom is a random doctor in Connecticut. All of them American citizens, all inexplicably told by the Trump administration that they must get out of the country within a week. And all of this press coverage, while it's depressing because of the subject matter, it is also incisive investigative press coverage. And it does have the effect of exposing the shambolic and slapdash and utterly incompetent behavior of the Trump administration as it embarks on this cruel and unconstitutional adventure for which it wants to be feared and respected. And instead, they look ridiculous and cruel in equal measure. And that has the effect of shaping public opinion about what they're doing. And that fuels not just protests, and lots of them, but also lawsuits. Reuters reporting that on Tuesday alone this week, federal judges in at least 7 states issued orders blocking the Trump administration from acting against international students that it is trying to arrest. Lawsuits in Massachusetts, Montana, Wisconsin, Washington, D.C., New Hampshire, Michigan, everywhere, and more filed every single day. Those legal roadblocks tend to turn up information. The tide of incisive investigative press about what the administration is doing turns up yet more information about what Trump is doing and who he's hurting. And all of that information builds the public case, further galvanizes more public opinion against them and more protest against them. And you know what? If you keep eventually going like this stuff snowballs and it builds on itself. And eventually you are going to embolden elected officials to make them